Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion. And the IPL mega auction for 2022 has been completed, and in this video I'll be looking through the overall squads of each of the franchises, and I'll be ranking them from 10 to 1 like I did in my previous video as far as who I think has the most complete squad going into this season. And before I continue, I'd like to say that ranking the franchises overall after day 2 was considerably harder than day 1 for two reasons. And the first one is because of there are two more franchises in this auction, and there is an increased demand for Indian players, but not necessarily an increase in supply. And so really it's a bit of a catfight when it comes to the Indian players, and the high profile players, when we were unaware of this auction dynamic before day 1 of the auction. We thought David Warner, Johnny Bairstow, there were people really going to break the bank for them. And it turns out that the sides really wanted their Indian players back. So yes, the overseas players went for a decent bit of money, a very decent bit of money, but yet almost every Indian player overtook them in terms of the price that they were being bought. So even players who, as I mentioned in my previous video, who probably go for 1 crore in other auctions. So in other IPL auctions rather. So I think that that was certainly a thing. And two, but because of that, I think a lot of the teams are at an equal, the squad, okay, there are intricacies in their squads, but if you look at the level, they've had certain roles kind of completed certain departments and not others. Overall, you'd say some of them are actually the same. And so in terms of in the level of a overall side. So I actually think that it was quite difficult to rank these teams, but I've got a rank from 10 to 1 for each side, and this may even change during the video. It was quite difficult to do. And before I continue, the auctioneer who took over from Hugh Edmeade, his name is actually Charu Sharma. He did a brilliant job for the time he took over in the auction for the majority of day 1 and the majority of day 2. And it was a great moment when the auctioneer Hugh Edmeade walked back onto the stage to complete the latter stages of today's proceedings. And I think really well done to Charu Sharma. He did a great job on both days, and also good to see that Hugh Edmeade is okay. And after that, I'll get into ranking, or rather explaining my rankings for these franchises. So in 10th, now as I said before, I actually put them in, I think, 4th on the first day, and I was really looking forward to watching them this auction. I still am, but I really think that out of all these teams, if there was one team you could say really had probably the most disappointing auction out of the others, it would be the Gujarat Titans. Now, looking at their squad, they've got some really core buys. I'll start with the positives for every franchise. Hardik Pandya, Lockie Ferguson, Mohammad Shami, Rashid Khan, Jason Roy, Shubman Gill. They're looking good with those players, but the problem is now, I actually really think, as far as my predictions went, I'm really happy with the way that the things turned out in this auction as far as my predictions, because I said Rahane to KKR, he wouldn't have much competition, and 1 crore, he goes to KKR. In my Word document before, I didn't say this on the video, but I thought that I put Vijay Shankar / Shivam Dube, and Shivam Dube goes to CSK for, I think, 4 point something crores. Rasif van der Dussen, I thought RR was the most likely franchise to buy him. He was, especially the time when CSK bought Devon Conway instead of Rasif van der Dussen, which I will get to. And I thought if he's really going to go unsold despite all the things he's done, it's just a criminal thing, especially since some other players got bids, even though you wouldn't really think that they'd done well in the IPL for quite some time after they did well quite some years back. So I think that considering that Rasif van der Dussen was unsold for quite a bit of this auction, I was very surprised, and luckily Rajasthan was picked him up. So that was on my successful predictions. And then coming back to the Gujarat Titans, I said that they have these six core players, and I really think they needed a keeper. I was surprised they didn't go for Sam Billings, but and so yeah, I was quite surprised they didn't go for Sam Billings in that middle order. I think the problem that they have is that after these six core players, I really think their bowling attack. If you look at Lockie Ferguson, Rashid Khan, Mohammad Shami, it's a very good attack, but after Shubman Gill and Jason Roy, who they have and who I've actually kind of slated to walk in is because okay, I'll say the problem first. Their batting is a bit frail, and if you're looking at this side, I thought that Hardik Pandya was meant to be the luxury player in this team. Yes, he's captain, but I really thought that if things were made slightly easier for him to really ease back into an increased level of fitness and to shake off the rust, he's looking at this batting lineup and thinking that I wouldn't be surprised if he chooses to promote himself to bat at 4. And they haven't bought bad players, but you honestly don't know what any of them's going to do on their day, especially in this tournament rather, because Shubman Gill, Jason Roy. Jason Roy, as I said, in the subcontinental leagues, yes, he scored 100 in the PSL. He's played a few good knocks in the IPL. But generally, he's never got batting in these subcontinental leagues. He's a steal for 2 crores, but will he do well? We'll have to see. Shubman Gill was a very good player, yes. And yeah, the opening partnership is still solid. But then you look at number 3, they've had to, luckily they bought Matthew Wade because since they didn't get Sam Billings either, if they had to play Ridhiman Shah at number 3, I think that things would have really not been great for them. And Vijay Shankar, I'm really surprised that other teams didn't go for him. 1.4 crores, I'd consider that a bit of a steal. They really needed him and they got him. But for some reason, David Miller was the one I was referring to earlier. 3 crores when Rassi van der Dussen was unsold. I personally don't think they would play David Miller. I think they would play Matthew Wade ahead of him, because if they play Miller, they have to play Ridhiman Shah at number 3. And look, David Miller's consistency, especially in the IPL nowadays, is just, you honestly, people say he'll win you 2 or 3 games. Does he? Because even then, the number of games for him to contribute in the IPL seems way less. And even though there are 14 games, even in the group stage. And so I think Matthew Wade was a very good buy considering that situation. Also a very good price as well, only 2.4 crores. And I really think that they've got some good players, but the overall dynamic of the team is not very great. Now, I'm going to make my first 11 and you'll actually see the problems that I'm talking about. So there's Shubman Gill and there's Jason Roy. Matthew Wade at 3, they're going to have to play him there because certainly they're going to have to play him in the overseas slot, I think. So good top 3. But then Vijay Shankar, number 4, he's going to have to perform. And these aren't bad players, but you'll see what I mean. Hardik Pandya at 5, Gurkirat Singh Mann at 6, and Rahul Tewati at 7. These aren't bad players, but on their given day, considering Hardik Pandya has this rustiness because of the time he's been out due to injury, so this isn't really his fault. Look at all the other players. I know Matthew Wade played well in the T20 World Cup, especially in innings against Pakistan. I do get that. But you have no idea what those players are going to do in the IPL on their given day. Maybe Shubman Gill okay, but even then, times haven't been smooth sailing for him. I thought that he really finished last tournament off brilliantly with the 50s that he scored. And I think that, and I really hope that he manages to emulate quite a bit of that performance throughout this tournament. And I'm sure he will. But apart from maybe Shubman Gill, a not fully fit Hardik Pandya has to bear the brunt. He will be rusty. Do you know what any of them are going to do in batting? You don't. So it's actually quite a bit of a problem. There's quite a lot of pressure on Hardik Pandya in that middle order, a rusty Hardik Pandya to perform. And so, I hope that things go well for them. I hope things go well for all these franchises. But their batting, people are going to have to stand up. Tewati is going to have to improve his consistency. Vijay Shankar is going to have to give some performances as well. Yeah, they're gonna have to really. Gurkeerat Singh Mann at number 6 is gonna have to. Again, there's so many players who you expect more from, and yet you see players like Gurkeerat Singh Mann and Rahul Tewatia who. Consistency factor. Tewatia, is he going to give consistent performances at that number 7? Because as we've seen, he played that brilliant innings against Punjab in the 2020 season. And in 2021, you can't even say he played badly. He was an absolute passenger throughout the entire season. So is he going to be able to give consistent performances? I'm not sure. So that's their batting. It looks a bit shaky in terms of consistency. And their bowling, right, they've got some good bowlers, but here's the problem. So Rashid Khan number 8, Lockie Ferguson number 9, Mohammad Shami number 10. So you've got two pacers and a spinner. Now you could either play a pacer, and that means that you only have one frontline spinner and you'll go with Tewatia. But in reality, I actually think that going with a pacer would be better for them, because if they're looking to go for a spinner and they go with who did they get? If they go with, they don't really have another frontline spinner apart from Rashid Khan. I'm looking through this list and they probably don't. They have Sai Kishore. I think he's a very good spinner from Tamil Nadu, and I'm happy that he's got this 3 crore buy to the side. But I think that if they play 3 spinners, they're going to have 12 overs of fast bowling from somewhere in the team. They've got 8 overs of fast bowling, but will Hardik Pandya bowl? I don't know. How many overs will Vijay Shankar bowl? I don't know. So the fact is, even with their strength, their good bowling, things still aren't particularly complete. And this team, the composition of it seems very shaky despite the fact they have good players, and I want them to do well whenever it's time to do well. I look forward to watching the side because of their retentions at the start. I think that they really drew me into expecting great things from this team, and who knows, they may do something. I think that I do feel bad for them in the case that I don't think any franchise in the side saw the kind of ridiculous bidding on the first day. And that's why you saw, especially CSK missed out on quite a few players. Usually 48 crores would have been quite some money to get some players in the auction. And even then, it wasn't that much money you thought in the original dynamic. Then 48 in this dynamic was a ridiculous amount to try and get all those players with. So I do understand that maybe there was a sector they didn't really, no side would have known about the dynamics of this particular auction, but at the same time the side is quite shaky. So I wish them the best of luck, and let's see what happens with them. Then at number 9, Royal Challengers Bangalore. Now the thing is, they've got some good players. They've got some, especially, I don't think you'll be relying on 2 for the batting, because they've got 4 solid options in Duplessis, Kohli, Maxwell, Dinesh Karthik. They'll start. Mahipal Romro is an excellent buy, I think, at number 5. But the thing is, like last season, they struggled with a number 3. And I think if you look at this team, I personally would play Anuj Rawat there. They paid 3.4 crores for him. I've never seen him play before, and I hope he can come good. They'll probably put him there. But if you're looking at, if I'm going to make a starting 11, and I just don't really think there's that. I'll make the 11, and you'll see what I mean. So Virat Kohli and Faf du Plessis, Anuj Rawat 3, Glenn Maxwell 4, Mahipal Romro 5, Dinesh Karthik 6. I would go for Hasaranga 7, Hazelwood 8, Harsha Patel 9, Siraj 10, and I don't know, probably another leg spinner. I reckon Karan Sharma at number 11. It isn't a bad side, but I'm just saying there isn't that real X factor. Like there's Glenn Maxwell, yes, but pretend yes, they've got a very steady hand in Faf du Plessis, a brilliant player. In fact, if he's at his best, he'll give you up to 600 runs like he did the last time. Virat Kohli, probably as you all know what I think of him. And Dinesh Karthik, the finisher, I really think the best finisher in the world. They've secured a good player there. But if you're looking at, as I said, I really think that Wanedu Hasaranga, 10.75 crores, you've got him for the same amount of money that you've got Harshal Patel. And I really think getting Chahel would have been better, because they would have probably been able to maybe play another overseas batsman while still having the same, or rather, a better bowler in Chahel. And the reason why you've got Hasaranga for is bowling. If let's say if the other bowlers are getting whacked around and you need Chahel to deliver a few tight overs, maybe get a wicket, Hasaranga may get a wicket, but is he going to have the same effect as Chahel? He probably isn't. And another thing is, if you look at their death bowling on better pitches, it is a huge question mark, because Josh Hazlewood, Mohammad Siraj. Josh Hazlewood is learning as a T20 bowler. Mohammad Siraj at the death is not great. Harshal Patel's cutters, if they play in the Maharashtrian pitches, if they are more for flatter tracks, his cutters are not going to work. That's why I've been saying pretty much all these times that they are lucky they've not played games in Bangalore over the last few seasons, because they've picked teams for slower surfaces. And I think that if they played on slower surfaces, or rather surfaces that are a bit kind of a medium, like, let's say the ones like in Dubai, where it's kind of there aren't any demons in the pitch, but you have to really apply yourself to get to that 170 kind of score, and then you're in the game, and their bowling attack then would be quite handy. Whereas in this case, it's still good, but I just feel like on better pitches, there isn't that X factor player, there isn't that really that reliable player in Chahel there, where if things are going tough, he can kind of really either stem the flow of runs or get the wickets, and certainly just dominate that middle phase. Hasaranga's not going to dominate that middle phase. He blows very hot and cold. He does quite well for Sri Lanka, but you have to really kind of I can't really think of the word. Just he does well there, yes, but it's in a different situation. If he does exactly what he does for Sri Lanka in this IPL, I don't really think it will be enough, because I think in Sri Lanka it's a team with quite a few young players, and I think that they aren't necessarily mistake-free. No one is, but I think even in Hasaranga's development, he's not. You wouldn't really put him on par with the other leg spinners, and I really understand he offers a good commodity. But to pay 10.75 crores ahead of a Yuzvendra Chahal who went to Rajasthan for 6.5 crores, I just don't really get that. Their batting does look good, but also that number 3 slot, I don't know what Anuj Rawat will do. And so, yeah, that's the reason why they haven't done too badly, but I think because of the number 3 slot, and also because of the fact that their bowling attack is a little bit, you don't know how they'll do on better pitches, I've put them in 9th. Now, as I've said before, just because I've put them in 9th, it does not mean that I think that they've done terribly in the auction, because as I said, apart from 10th place, I don't think there was actually that much to separate most of the teams in these auctions. Even if you think that they've done badly, every single team was impacted by the fact that they probably wouldn't have known that the market will be so erratic, and so none of their squads will be complete. Even the best side squad, honestly, if you compare the best side in this tournament to the best squads of the previous tournament against the Mumbai Indians and the Delhi Capitals of last season, that game would not be pretty viewing at all, because the teams of last season would absolutely destroy the ones of this season. But because of the two new teams, no side is complete, and honestly, you wouldn't say that it's up to standards of the other previous IPL squads. And so, considering that, I don't really think that you can blame RCB that much, and also I don't actually think that a 9th place for them means that they've had an overly bad time of things. Then SRH. Now, I've looked at this side, and I actually think that SRH could do something in this season, and I'm saying this because One, the other sides have a few frailties in them which I think could be exploited. And if you actually look at SRH, yes, it seems like they've, as I said in my previous video, that Jason Holder in the previous season was in that number 5 kind of role. He was batting and offered some bowling. So theoretically, Nicholas Puran at 5, where his confidence, not necessarily in the T20 format, but I do think that his IPL confidence would be in a bit of a limbo. You've got Kane Williamson and Aidan Markram. So effectively the thing that you didn't want with Warner, Bairstow and Williamson. So at first glance, a better combination. You thought that the balance of that, or rather, you thought you didn't want that to be the case, this top heavy loading and a fragile Indian middle order. And so theoretically, you've ended up with a kind of a situation with a less, let's say, you wouldn't put those 3 as a combination on the level of a Warner and Bairstow, so plus Williamson. So I think that in that way, that's the reason why I wasn't really too sure after yesterday's the auction day. But if you look at this side, I actually think that they could really have this sense of adaptability. And I actually don't think that, I know they bought him for 4.2 crores. I don't think they need to play Janssen, and they can still have a good side. So I'll say the team here. So I think that personally for me, Aidan Markram, Kane Williamson, they could open. But I personally think Abhishek Sharma has to open. One, he opened in the last game of the previous season. He did okay, even though too small of a sample size. And 2, I think that if they top load their batting with 3 overseas batsmen, they'll still have a bit of a problem. Not as much of a problem as the previous season, but still a bit of a problem when you go down the order. So Abhishek Sharma, Aidan Markram, Kane Williamson. Or even you could put Kane Williamson to open the batting. I don't mind that at all. You could put Rahul Tripathi 3, Aidan Markram 4, if you could kind of juggle things around. Nicholas Puran 5, I'm saying 5 because I think that they will kind of take up more of the batting lineup. Abdul Samad 6, they've retained him. After all, you're going to have to expect something. Washington Sundar number 7, Bhuvneshwar Kumar number 8, Shreyas Gopal 9, Natarajan 10 and Umran Malik 11. So they don't have to play I forgot one person, I think, because I said they don't actually have to play Marco Jansen. And what they could do is play Glenn Phillips and say, we've got 4 overseas batsmen in the top 6. And if you look at a team like that, and if they just top load their batting, they could have batting until number 5. It would probably give them a bit more assurance than Abhishek Sharma. Let's say if you have Aidan Markram, Kane Williamson, Rahul Tripathi, Nicholas Puran, Glenn Phillips is your top 5. Abdul Samad 6, Washington Sundar 7, and a very good bowling attack actually. And if you look at Umran Malik, they have that pacey bowler who they strived for before. Umran Malik, they have the Yorker bowler of Natarajan and Bhuvneshwar Kumar. I think because of the injuries, he's struggling a bit, and I think the rust has kind of been showing slightly. And there's kind of where he had a great series, I thought, against New Zealand in that T20 series in India, but they didn't have the greatest time against South Africa. I'm sure that he will come good. He's someone who I'll keep on giving chances to. He's a champion bowler. 4.2 crores for him is an absolute steal. So if Bhuvneshwar Kumar even bowls slightly remotely to what we're used to seeing, him and Natarajan at the death is pretty much sorted. Umran Malik to bowl 150 Ks and make life uncomfortable for the batsman. Washington Sundar, very economical. And a good leg spinner in Shreyas Gopal. So that is quite a good attack. And in reserves, you have Kartik Tyagi, who, if he bowls like he did when Rajasthan were defending 200, Rajasthan were defending 200 against SRH. If he bowls like that, kind of gets the speeds to the early 140s, I think that SRH actually have quite a decent side. I know it doesn't look like much, but they've actually got some options that they can go for. They could go for Romario Shepherd, kind of if they want to take one of the overseas batsmen out. I reckon Glenn Phillips will kind of be the player they'll put in and out of the side, depending on whatever they see fit. I actually think this team, and I've put them in 8th place, but I tell you what, I actually think the SRH, I know it didn't seem like it yesterday, but whatever they do in the tournament, I think this squad, SRH, I think they've actually done quite well in this auction. Then there is the Mumbai Indians at 7th. Now, I actually think there was a case for me to put SRH above the Mumbai Indians. You may be thinking, what the hell is he saying? But one, I think they've recovered quite well, the positives, I must say. But then you're looking at the other players in the side, and it's a bit of a gamble. Look, when you look at this team, you think Mumbai Indians, and yes, it is that. That stunning bid for Jofra Archer. And honestly, that thing is, honestly, well, I say that thing because I'm not talking about Jofra Archer here, because I'm saying that the next season, for example, the next season from 2023, Jasprit Bumrah, Jofra Archer, and Timur Mills, if he stays fit, those three in the same attack. That is absolutely ridiculous. And I honestly think that will be worth the wait, like Zahir Khan said. That really will be worth the wait. I mean, it's a very shrewd buy that Jofra Archer, I know 8 crores. Timur was an absolute steal for 1.5. And I think they did this on 2 occasions at this auction. Loading up cash to get Ishan Kishan, loading up cash to get Jofra Archer. 23 crores they had in the bank before they bid to get Jofra Archer. They had such an overwhelming advantage. An absolute masterstroke from the Mumbai Indians, maybe for not this season, but certainly for the next. And yeah, that's the positives. But if you're looking at this team, they've got the Mumbai Indians core, but you look around it and you think, what will the others do? Because I'm going to start off with the 11. Rohit Sharma, Ishan Kishan, someone at number 3. People, I think Tilak Verma, I heard on Crickbuzz Live, and I think I've also heard that Parthiv Patel really thinks highly of him. So I think he's Mumbai Indians is scouting someone or something. So and they might have a very good, probably the best scouting in franchise cricket, really. So Tilak Verma, number 3, based on what everyone's saying. Suryakumar Yadav, number 4, very good top 4 there. Pollard, 5, again, Mumbai Indians, you can see the team. But a gamble here at 8.25 crores. Tim David, I know he's having quite a good PSL, a very good PSL now, but the IPL is always a transition. And honestly, Hardik Pandya and Kunal Pandya are such a big miss for this team, because they've also gone for Daniel Sams as well, who they probably expect to fill that seam bowling all round the slot. Guess who does that? And I really think they're missing Hardik Pandya and Kunal Pandya. They've tried to find replacements, and I think they've tried to find them and found them knowing that they aren't the replacements. And Tim David at number 6, should say, and I'm Crickbuzz Live also, I think they've got this kind of same 11. Daniel Sams at number 7, because I honestly can't really seem to... Yes, there's Jayant Yadav, I think he's not in this team, so you're probably going to have to bet either Fabian Allen or Daniel Sams, and I'm not really sure they'll play Fabian Allen. I think that they like playing with the paces in their side. So you put Daniel Sams at number 7, and I'm just ordering the bowlers, kind of depending on anything really. Bumrah at number 8, Riley Meredith at number 9, so that's Pollard, Tim David, Daniel Sams, and Riley Meredith. And then so Riley Meredith number 9, Bumrah number 8. So you've got your paces. Would they want to, maybe if they play Jaydev Unadkat, and then instead of playing Daniel Sams, if they can just play Fabian Allen, I think the team will look quite a bit better. But this isn't the Mumbai Indians that we've known, obviously, especially in the last few seasons. Since the 2018 auction, they've been an absolutely brilliant side. Or maybe not in 2018 itself, but 2019 and 2020, and even for a team that didn't make it in 2021, towards the end, the other teams were very happy they weren't in the playoffs because I think they would have probably won the whole thing if they'd reached the playoffs. And they still have the Mumbai Indians core, but if you're looking at the players they've got, I honestly think that if Jaydev Unadkat doesn't really go well, which despite the fact he has great domestic seasons, IPL of late hasn't been great for him. If Jaydev Unadkat doesn't go well, they have a left-arm seamer who they'll be very, very happy with buying for only 30 lakh, a certain Arjun Tendulkar. And I reckon that they could go for him. Just take a punt, because you're taking a punt with the team, really. Let's be honest. Because, yes, there have been some intelligent, outstanding buys like Jofra Archer for next season. Fabian Allen's a very good buy for 75 lakh. A steal, you could say, despite the fact that the Mumbai Indians really don't go with... The spin isn't really much of their priority. But I think that since that they've got the seamers in, let's say if they play Riley Meredith, Bumrah and Unadkat, then I think that if they play Fabian Allen, it's still quite a good thing, especially it helps their finishing core in Pollard, Tim David and Fabian Allen. But I still think this isn't the same Mumbai Indians. There are still a few. What is Tilak Verma going to do in the IPO? I don't know. I've not really seen him play. How will the bowling attack go? Because I think that, yes, Bumrah and Riley Meredith, yes, and I'm sure Riley Meredith will bowl better than he did before. But apart from that, you've got, I think, Jaydev Unadkat, Basil Thampi, Murugan Ashwin, I think, is a very good buy, a proper, genuine leg spinner, 1.6 crores is a steal. This isn't the same MI. They've got Markande, but still, this isn't the same MI, so I'm going to have to give them a 7. I'm sure they'll be much better than... I still don't think they have a bad squad, but I'm just giving them 7th because of the amount of gambles they've taken. In fact, right now, looking at SRH's squad seems much more, I would say, they'll probably have less things to think about, which can sometimes be a good thing, than the Mumbai Indians, because I know they've paid a lot of money for him, but let's be completely honest here. They would have rather Hardik Pandya, Karen Pollard and Krunal Pandya than Tim David, Karen Pollard and Fabian Allen. The other two out of the trio, the new two in the trio, will they give the output that the Pandya brothers gave to this franchise? I'm not sure. So that's on this team. They have a lot of good going for them, but the gambles that they've taken, will things go off of them? We have to see, really. And then now I may make this just a one-part video since it's 32 minutes long, and I do talk for quite a bit on the franchises. So CSK I've put on 6th. They have recovered quite a bit from before, and as far as their, I think I really did. I would have liked Rassi van der Dussen more, because I think he's probably... Devon Conway can bat anywhere in the order. Yes, you've seen him in for New Zealand. He's played some really good knocks in the middle order, but Rassi van der Dussen, especially with the way he played against India, I really think that Rassi van der Dussen would have been... You could say when he hits harder, I think that Rassi van der Dussen would slightly... certainly exploding would be more of Rassi van der Dussen's strength, although Devon Conway is not too bad at that himself. So I think I don't really mind this too much, considering who they went for instead. Devon Conway is an absolutely brilliant player, and I'm very happy that they've got him into the side. And now if you look at this team, now I know the fact that I said Ambati Rayudu for 6.75 crores, but I look back at this now and think the side struggling for the Indian middle order batsmen, and let me tell you, Gujarat Lions would really have wanted Ambati Rayudu to be in their side. But since CSK have got him, this is their 11, I think, and it's actually looking quite decent. So Rutraj Gaikwad, Robin Uthappa opening the batting, Moeen Ali number 3, Rayudu number 4, Devon Conway number 5, Ravindra Jadeja number 6, MS Dhoni number 7, Dwayne Bravo number 8. And so overseas players there, the 3 overseas players have been there. Dwayne Bravo number 8, Deepak Chahar number 9. So actually Deepak Chahar number 8, Dwayne Bravo number 9. Then I reckon Adam Milne number 10. That's the 4 overseas players. And considering I'm not surprised they didn't bid for Ashwin, or they didn't really bid for any frontline spinners that I can see. Because apart from Mahesh Deekshana at for 70 lakh, could be interesting to see what he does, and I will get to that after I state their 11. But I actually think Rajvardhan Hangargekar, just give him a chance. You don't really have any prominent fast bowlers. On Ashwin's channel, I heard of Simarjeet Singh, and apparently he's quite skiddy. And I think that maybe you could give him a chance, or Hangargekar. But yeah, overall, this squad actually, maybe it wasn't too bad setting the foundation on the first day. And I must say, after the first day, I didn't know what to expect. But actually, come to think of it, they're quite a bit better than some of the other franchises have a settled 11. And yeah, you know what? I think that this is actually, I'm decently happy with this. It's only the reason I'm putting it on in sixth is because look, I feel like they wasted some of their overseas slots. They had 2.95 crores left, and then in the end they bought all their 25 players. If you're thinking that Dwayne Pretorius is a Dwayne Bravo replacement, then I'm sorry. I know it sounds harsh, but come on, I have a feeling that they were just panic buying at that point before they really got some stability. I think that they were panic buying, even though it was from that point that they really started to get some good buys in. And that's why they bought Pretorius. Tikshana, it's interesting. They didn't bid for Imran Tahir, and I know maybe they'll be looking at the CSK owner, I think, said they were looking to the future on CricBuzz Live. But Mahesh Tikshana, I think it's quite a bit early to give him this opportunity because he takes the new ball, I think, for Sri Lanka already. I think was the earlier part of the overs in the game for balls from quite early on in the game. And I think sometimes he's guilty of dragging the ball short. And I think that he effectively runs him like a medium pacer. But while he has promise, I think right now he still goes for too many runs because of the fact that he drops the ball short. He's in this side, and I think that he is a good talent, but it's interesting to see if they rely on him as a frontline spinner, which I don't think they will because they don't really play frontline spinners. They've got Jadeja and Moeen Ali. That's their template. They just go for the all-rounders as spinners. But yeah, they've got him. I think that, yes, they've got them both at a combined 1.2 crores, which seems good for two overseas players, but I don't even mind a Tikshana that much. They could have done much better than Dwayne Pretorius. And Chris Jordan, I think this is inexplicable, right? Right after Chris Jordan gets bought, Lungi Ngidi gets sold for 50 lakh to Delhi Capitals, a team that you know where I would have put them in. And honestly, I thought the thing was buying back your old side. And what they've done is, there's a difference between not being able to buy back your best performing players, and then just not buying him back for absolute peanuts. And they have spent 3.6 crores on a Chris Jordan, who for some reason, as I've said for such a long time now, a better athlete than he is a bowler. I don't know why everyone, there's so many people say Chris Jordan's a death bowler, he does much better at the end. Does he though? Because I've said so many times before, these death bowling specialists, quite a few of them, they don't really, if you compare to what they do to just any other bowler, already a solid bowler, let's say, someone like a proper bowler, let's say, who can bowl any phase of the innings, they just can't match up to them. And I don't know why CSK have bought Chris Jordan. I can only see frustration, because it's frustration for England, it was frustration for Punjab, it was frustration for RCB, effectively apart from one game. I just think that Chris Jordan, for someone who he's, whether for country or for IPL, has not had the greatest of seasons in the IPL. It's quite expensive. He's a very good fielder, very good athlete, but I just think Lungi and Ngidi, they have effectively strengthened the strongest squad in this tournament by not buying Lungi and Ngidi, and weaken their own. So I really don't understand that. Yes, CSK have bought some good players, but there are some, I think they wasted a few of their overseas slots. Not going for Lungi and Ngidi, I think it's just absolutely absurd. And so yeah, that is the first 5 teams. I'll probably stop recording for about now, and I'll do the next video and the other 5 teams that I've ranked in the auction. And I think that something which I'd like to take into the next video is that There are 10 teams now in the IPL, and maybe they should give this time before they implement this. But we've seen that actually the Indian players, even the ones that would have gone for 1 crore before, towards the end seemed like a more valuable currency than the overseas ones. And there is just a feeling that maybe they should give this more time to see how things go. But because of that, they have to really, the supply and demand don't match up, and that's why pretty much no side is complete as to how the best sides in previous seasons, when there were only 8 teams, would have been. And so I'm saying maybe maybe not increasing, even if they don't increase the overseas slots in the side, 5 overseas players. I think now this may not be the case, but for me it'll be a lot more closer now. Before it wasn't close at all, but now, as I've said, if you look at some of these sides, I think if they had that 5th overseas player in the 11, for some sides it would make their 11s even better. For other sides it would be a lifeline. And yeah, I think that they would probably be thinking about it. I don't think they'll implement it, but looking at these squads, and if all these teams played against a Mumbai Indians and Delhi Capitals of last year, and even a CSK of last year, I'll tell you what would happen. It would not be pretty viewing, or rather, if you like the old the old teams better, which many of the people would, or if you liked 8 teams better. I personally didn't mind 10 teams, but now I realize that despite the fact I don't mind 10 teams, the supply and demand don't match up. Those 3 teams that I talked about from the previous season would absolutely destroy any of these teams now, even the supposed best ones. Maybe Delhi Capitals would stand a chance. I think Lucknow would give a decent fight. And those 2, I won't spoil it, but you probably know where they are on my list by now. But yeah, I just feel like none of these sides are really complete, and so maybe the 5th overseas player in the 11, it may not be that far away, certainly for me. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and please share this video with your friends. And remember, this is my opinion. What's yours?